I was sent this laser here, and the email, I pulled up the ad, and it had several claims that really kind of struck my eye. That's why I said go ahead and send it out. So I'm going to go over the machine and show you what I find is very unique about this machine that's different than many other machines. First of all, this is a one-piece machine. This whole body is like a cast aluminum, so there is no putting together. When you take it out of the box, there's 4 screws that you screw on your laser head, and that's it. It's pretty much ready to go right out the box. Right here, we actually have linear rails inside of here instead of wheels. Most of them have wheels. Like on the top up here, we do have a wheel, but it's the metal channel with the metal wheels, very similar to what the X-Tool has on all of their axes, but this one here has the linear rails. Also, it does have the key. So if you do have this in a place where you don't want people to be able to use it with kids and stuff, you know, that's great. It has the indicator for if there's an alarm going off, and that's another thing. It also, it's called an emergency stop, but it's basically an on and off switch here. An emergency stop, I would have liked to have seen a big round switch, but realistically, I think that is more than good enough for it. Now over here, this is something extremely unique that most lasers do not have, is this is your Y interface. And what that means is if you want to connect a rotary in here, you can just plug that right in, whereas many lasers, you have to climb underneath it, take it apart, and pull the wire off of the stepper motor to your Y axis. Well, with this one, you just plug the wire in right here, and then right back here is a switch. You just flip the switch, and now the machine is going on the front wire. Very, very unique. I really like that. So we do have the USB where you can load these in with a USB drive, whereas many of them have to have a SD card. Definitely like that. Now it has the port right here for an HDMI screen, and that way you could actually plug in and then control this with the screen. Whereas it does have the port, it did not come with the screen, so you're unable to control it like that. But they sell the screen, I think it's about 50 bucks, and then you would be able to operate this without your laptop around. It does have Wi-Fi, so it's basically an ESP32 card that you just go into the network, and if you're not familiar with them, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is the password to get in. Another extremely good feature that I love that this thing has, this output, this is for your air assist. Now, if you are not familiar with lasers, the only way you're going to really cut with a laser is with air assist. And now this is a 24 volt output. So now this air pump did not come with the machine. It's one I have from a different machine, but this wire connects right in here, and then I can come into my software and I can check my button right here and turn the air on and off right inside of Lightburn. Another thing, this machine works with Lightburn. Another function that well, it's not really a function, but another thing about this machine is you see this real nice cable chain right here. So this thing has got, you know, a real nice little cable chain, and so the wire management is very good. And a lot of lasers, they don't have the wiring in the pictures because the wiring is real bad. It also had the air hose already piped in through the cable chain, even though it didn't come with air assist. Okay, so back here on the back of the machine is where you take your compressor and you just plug your hose right in, and then that goes in. It's got a nice little fitting back there. There's those nice linear rails, you know, the wiring for the laser. So you just have to plug that in. Now, it came with these little clips, and some of the little clips here, and that haven't stayed on. This wire's real stiff. It's a big, heavy gauge wire. And that is the only wire that they did not have pre-installed. And it seems like it would have been, since they did everything else so great, why did they not do cable management with the hose and the wire? I do not know, but again, overall, it is much better than your average. Now, this could be a positive or a negative. So you see our working site is 365 by 305, which means that the machine itself is relatively small. So if you're in a small area, this is great. If you need a real big machine, it's not so great. So again, that all just depends on your scenario. Whereas I used to want big machines, now I find that the smaller machines are easier to find a place to keep them. And just overall, the build quality, I mean, is super rigid. It's all like cast aluminum, or it's not the extrusion, but this is like cast, much more rigid, which is where they advertise like 36,000 millimeters a minute, some ridiculous amount of speed. So I have burnt this image on most all of the lasers that I have reviewed. And what I did was I put in that 36,000 millimeters a minute so that this would run at the maximum speed, because it does not do any good if it can run super fast, but the laser's not powerful enough to actually burn at that speed. So as you can see here, the image actually burned very well, and this is running at max speed and 100% power, and it took 36 minutes. This is about an 8x8 image. As a comparison, I ran the same image on a $2,000 laser, and it took about 46 minutes or something like that, 48 minutes. So this machine is running much faster. When it's called the white space, this thing definitely has the acceleration cranked way up, and it is able to handle it. I mean, I can't see any imperfections or any problems with this. All right, speaking of these crazy speeds, so instead of going millimeters a minute, you see I've switched over here to millimeters a second. So 600 millimeters a second is equal to 36,000 millimeters a minute, because these numbers are just ridiculous. So, 60 is the same as 360. So you just basically multiply it by 60. And so I am going to start going in millimeters a second just because the speeds are so fast. But at these speeds here, you can see the burn. So at 100% here, I mean, at the 18,000 or 36,000 millimeters a minute, we're starting to top out, but you're still getting burn. But, probably right up in here, I can still feel the indentation where it's burnt in at, say, 300. So that's about, it's at 18,000 millimeters a minute. Now, this is just cheap underlayment, I bought at Home Depot. But so I ran this here at 6 millimeters. At 2 passes, we were all the way through. So we are talking about, that's what 6 times 60. So that's 360 millimeters a minute, and in 2 passes, we're making it all the way through, and at 60 millimeters a second. So that is still cutting all the way through at 10 passes there. Now, since it did not cut all the way through in 1 pass at 6, I dropped it down, and at 5, it was cutting completely through. So again, I ran this from 60 to 600, which is your 36,000 millimeters a minute, crazy speeds. And these are our results here. So you can see, obviously, the slower you go, the less power you need. So it's all a matter of speed and power. But this is giving you some settings so you kind of can know what to expect if you was to buy one of these machines. So what does that mean? Well, this here, I put it at the 600, which is your 36,000 millimeters a minute and 100% power. And it took 4 minutes to run this coaster. So, probably could have ran this with less than 100% power, but, 100% power, we got it a nice dark image. And so if you're doing coasters, you can do a full, pretty much a full coaster in about 4 minutes with this machine. One of the few things that I found about this machine that I don't like is it does not have an autofocus. So what you have to do is you have to come over on the side, loosen up these little hand screws, manually move the machine, the laser head up and down. And then this is a little spacer. So if you want to engrave, you set it at 8 millimeters. If you want to cut, you set it down here at 4. And now there's slack in here. So if that's out and I go to tighten these screws down, and then when I pull it out, half the time it was wanting to move once I pull it out. So, you know, I would have liked to have seen an autofocus, but, you know, it doesn't. But let's try it and see how accurate it will actually cut. Now, I don't normally do this, but I went ahead and pulled this cover off because one of the features it says is that this nozzle, the way it's designed, is supposed to keep the laser from getting dirty. And we're going to check that at the end. And as you can see, the little shielding here is getting really dirty because I ran this a whole bunch, but I took it off so we can see it on the camera. And what I've done is I put a 30 millimeter square in a circle and just cut one out, but I'm going to cut it again here. So this is real time. You can see just how fast that we're running, and then we are going to measure those and see if the machine is actually you know, cutting accurate, because we don't want a machine that can't cut accurately. Now this isn't the most expensive caliper here. So 29.7, 29.8, 29.8. So pretty much we are within 1/10 of a millimeter there to our 30. 29.8. So basically here we are within 2/10 of a millimeter of our dimensionally accurate. All right, so I've got this piece of poplar right here. So we are at a little over 15 millimeters here, and I'm going to place this right up underneath the laser here, and we are going to see what happens with this piece of 15 millimeter poplar. All right, so I got this 20 millimeter piece of poplar here. We're going to set this down. I'm going to bring my laser back here, and we're going to see just what this laser will do on a 20 millimeter piece of wood. And now this is thicker than what they are claiming that it can cut of softwood. And again, this is poplar, so this is a hardwood species. And I'm running this at 1 millimeter a second, which is same as 60 millimeters per minute. Now I have done some other ones that were saying that they would cut in one pass at 30 millimeters a minute, and which is half the speed of what this is going. However, I don't think we need to go that slow. Now we made it one pass and it did not cut all the way through, so I'm going to let this go one more time. And again, I think they claim that this can cut through 17 millimeters of softwood. And now that's not saying in one pass, that's just saying that it can cut it. But with the proper speed, proper air, you know, this little machine is just ridiculous. I mean, you see it just fall off right there. So you can see it cut all the way down to here on that first pass. And so it made about 17 millimeters on that first pass, and then the second pass, it cut that 3. And, you know, again, there's no charring, no ash coming off. This is a nice clean cut. That is just ridiculous for a 20 watt. I would expect something like this out of a 40 watt laser. So I am believing what they're claiming with this second generation, smaller point size. That is just ridiculous. This is a super small module, a lot smaller than what I have some of the other 20 watts, a lot lighter. However, the performance out of it is just way more than what I had expected. What can I say about this machine other than it definitely surprised me at how well it worked. I don't know what this wire is supposed to go to, but we have a port on the top that says expanded interface. So I don't know what the expanded interface is up on there. However, what came with it is all just surprising at how well it is. It does have the end stops, so you can home the machine and you know, work from absolute coordinates. Whereas you've seen, I was just running it from the current location. The overall, everything about the machine seems to work really, really well. The only thing I do not like is the fact that there's a little slack in here, and when you don't have the little kickstand. They spent so much time and got this laser where it performs just ridiculously well. And had they put in another 50-cent little kickstand like some of the other ones have, so you don't have to have the little setting block to put underneath it, would have been great. The screen, I don't really use that. When I'm burning, I always have my laptop hooked to my laser. Now, if you're in a production where you got multiple machines, and you're running the same file over and over, yeah, you would want a screen, that way you're not tying up your computer, but it is expandable and it has a very nice, everything's built right in to hook that up. So overall, I think this is a fabulous little machine, much better than I had expected. That's probably, if I had realized how good this machine was, I would have done this review a month or two ago. You know, I just wasn't really feeling it because I didn't expect it. I thought this was going to be one of these little cheap ones that they sent out. But if you're in the market, definitely check this one out. The price is also exceptionally cheap. It's about a third of the price I paid for my first 20 watt laser. So I'm going to put a link down there to his TopTom. They're the ones that sent me this laser, and they've got a real good price on it. So definitely go check that out. But more importantly, if there's something that you would have liked to have seen that I did not show in here, something you would like to see a little different other than the actual performance of the machine or what it will actually do, as far as I'm running, you know, test of seeing how fast it will go and not trying to just show a pretty picture, because, you know, a 5 watt machine can make a pretty picture. It's just going to take you 4 times as long, or in this case of this one, probably 8 times as long. So hope this helps somebody out. And until next time, I hope everybody has a wonderful afternoon.